Good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing out there today? Welcome to the Grey Exchange. Hope everybody's doing well as usual. Let me say hi to some of the folks in chat. We got Survival Julia, Joe Morgan, Jean, Monty, Survival Julia, Rena, Cheryl, Zayne. Did I say Joe? Jeep Girl, Bruce. Who else am I missing? Terry, Jen G, Jean, Patricia, Always Be Prepared, Raiders. Oh, you switched it up, huh, brother? Mama KB, Pantry Mama, Life with Bobby, Talk with Mac. So, hello, everyone. I'm going to go, and I don't want to keep everybody too much. What's up, Wacky Prepper, Secret Prepper, Prep for It, all you folks. So anyways, before we get started, I'd like to let everybody know how we run the stream for the first half hour. I'm going to look at chat, but I'm not going to look at chat. You know, I'm going to kind of bounce around, but I'm going to try to focus on Ed. That being said, then after the first half hour, we'll kind of jump into questions for Ed that you guys want to ask, and we'll put all those in caps. The other thing we like to do is, and that's it. I'll bring Ed up here in a second. But so let everybody know the April Super Chat of the Month giveaway is done. It's finalized. I have the prizes for that sitting next to me. We're going to do that on Thursday night. We're going to pull the winner for that. So for all you guys that Super Chatted in April, that's culminated. I got all the tickets. I had the tickets. I was going to show you guys the tickets, but we'll do that on Thursday night. May is a new month, so we'll start the new May Super Chat of the month, and we'll go into there. But stay tuned Thursday night at 10:30 p.m. on Late Night with Grey. We will announce the winner for the April giveaway and prep for it. I have your thing going out today. I will have some stuff for you for your member thing. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. What's up, Cat Lady, Setter, and Dina, and everybody that I might have missed. All right, so way overdue now. Let's go ahead and bring Ed up. After evening, Ed. It's evening time. It's evening.
Yes, it is.
How we doing tonight, brother?
Very good. Very good. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Anytime, brother. It's definitely awesome. What's up, Native and Devout? So I'm pretty sure most folks in chat know who Ed at PrepperNurse1 is. But for some folks that may just happen to not know, go ahead and introduce yourself, Ed, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
YouTube is huge, man. So there's a lot of people, you know, that wouldn't know. So that's okay. I'm PrepperNurse1. I've been on YouTube for about 11 years now. First few years, not really hugely active. I got more active once I got down to my homestead. I live off grid, and June will start my 7th year full-time living off grid at my homestead. I basically talk about prepping, talk about, you know, current events. I share my life on here, you know, and I'm raising my kids and, you know, going through my divorce that I went through and all that good stuff. And, you know, just sharing our journey and how, you know, a single father with 2 kids and can go off grid. And I just really wanted to encourage other people to know that they could do it as well. That it's hard and it's not easy, but if you are determined and if you are stubborn and if you have that drive and it's something that you really want to do, that you can do it. And so I've shared that journey along the way. And I'll tell you what, I look back sometimes and I look back at where we came from when we first got up here to the homestead to where it is now. And I'm like, I'm amazed. You know, it's kind of like, wow, we really have got a lot of stuff done. But it's just steady, hard work, determination. My favorite acronym, STD, step, thing, and day. One step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. And it's so weird how well that works if you follow that mantra. And like I always tell people, it doesn't have to be about prepping. It doesn't have to be about living off grid. It's whatever you're doing in your daily lives, whatever you're striving for. If you follow that mantra, it is amazing how much stuff you get done.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was going to say, how you've had the homestead for how long now?
Well, I've owned the property for 8 years, and we did some prep work ahead of time before we moved down here. In June, June 22nd, we'll start our 7th year full-time being down here. Nice. And we've been off grid since day one. So
that's always a plus. Yeah, because I've seen your solar power kind of, your solar array, I call it, you know, it's started with this many solar panels and you've slowly expanded and expanded.
Yes.
Been watching your progress with that. Now with solar, have you had any issues or run into any issues, you know, setting it up and getting other solar panels to mesh with each other and whatnot?
Okay, well, so that's a great question. So with the solar, what happened is, okay, when we first got to the homestead, we didn't have power other than a generator. So I told my kids, I said, when we first got to the homestead, I said, listen, and I said, I was really always, and that's another thing. If you got children and you want to do this, always be honest. And I said, the first 2 weeks are going to suck. I told my kids that. I said, just so you know, first 2 weeks are going to suck. I said, but it will get better. And if you trust me, give me time, I'll make it better. So I started out with a 12-volt system. I was using marine deep cycle batteries. And so I had 3 250-watt solar panels. And that's what we started out with. So we started out with 750 watts. I can't remember if I had 6 or 8. I think I might have had 8 batteries. And we got through that first winter, and it was rough. I'm not going to BS anybody. It was not easy. We ran the generator a lot, and it was not a pleasant first winter. So when that spring came, I had asked my kids, if there's one thing that you want me to improve this year, what do you want me to improve? It was a unanimous more power. So I ended up getting 3 more panels that second year. And it was, I bought 255-watt panels. Now, that was actually a mistake on my part, which I did not realize. And right now, the way my system is set up, it's not running, my panels are not running as efficiently as they should, because I have 250-watt panels, I have 255-watt panels, and then I have 300-watt panels. Well, what happens is your 300-watt panels will actually go down and only produce at the 250-watt level, because that's the lowest one that you have. So down the road here, I'm going to upgrade. I have 15 panels on my solar rack, and we'll have to upgrade them, and I'm going to get all the same. Like, I want to actually put 400-watt panels on there. So right now we have 4,020-watt system. I'll take it up to a 6,000-watt system with the increase in the panels. But so what I did that second year, I spoke with Bill from Bill and Rosa Off Grid, and he had said, copy my system and do what I did. And what he had was Trojan L16E batteries, which are a golf cart battery. So I actually went to a golf cart place and I bought 8 of those batteries. Now, those batteries were $258 a piece all those years ago. And so I got those. And then I went from a 12-volt system to a 24-volt system, which was more efficient. Now, a 48-volt system is much more efficient, but you got to look at how many batteries are you going to have if you do that. So what we ended up doing is, you know, I added more panels because ended up getting more panels. And so I had like a rack of 3, and then I had another rack with like 6 panels in it. And right. I think that's what we had. Yeah, it was 6 in there. So what we ended up doing, 2 years ago, we built the solar rack, the solar array, so that everything would be on one rack up in the air, much more efficient, get a lot more power that way. And so that was the next step. So with the solar system, until you work out the bugs, it's going to take a while, but it's in the long run, it's well worth it, because when everybody else's power is out because of whatever power outage, we still have power. And I never know, unless one of my neighbors calls me and go, hey, our power's out. You know, you don't know. So, you know, but that's kind of cool. That's a really cool thing. So.
No, I would tend to agree, brother. That being said, do you have like redundancies? And what I mean by that is, do you have like a generator or any other sources of power that if you need, if solar fails or whatnot?
Yeah. What if we're not pulling in enough sunlight? In wintertime in New York is like ridiculous. I mean, it's the worst. So what we have is I have a backup generator tied to the system. So if I need to run the generator, what the generator does, not only does it charge the batteries, but it also at the same time runs the power in both houses. So, you know, so if we have to, like, now today was a rainy day. We had some sunshine. So, but we pulled in enough power today with the sun when it was in and out that I didn't have to run the generator at all. And you know, as you get into the better weather and you're getting more sunshine, I mean, it cranks. I mean, it is unbelievable, because I actually upgraded my batteries again last year. I went from the lead acid batteries to a lithium ion battery.
Okay.
And they are unbelievable. Very, very efficient. Fantastic batteries. I will highly recommend them. No maintenance with the lithium ion too, which is a big difference, because with the lead acid, you got to check your water levels. You got to make sure your acidity is the way it's supposed to be. So there's a lot of, you know, things that you got to keep an eye on with those batteries. But with the lithium ion, zero. You put them in, you fire them up, and you get going, and that's it, which is awesome.
Just wanted to say, so many people have popped in since I said what's up to everybody. Thanks everybody for in chat. I know I've said what's up to a few of you guys. I really want to say thank you all for being here, as well as all the mods in chat. And we're doing pretty good on the thumbs up, but we could do better than that, folks. We know we can smash that like button and get it, break that YouTube algorithm. You guys know what's up. But all right, so back to Ed. So in regards, I always like to ask this question because people have different experiences with different generators. The generator that you have, is there a reason why you purchased that generator versus, let's say, I know some people like the tri-fuels, the dual fuels, some people prefer diesel, you know, some people prefer, you know, Generac, Furman's, Westinghouse, I think makes them.
There is, okay, so with anything else, it always comes down to what you can afford. What's gonna, you know, the better, if you buy a more quality generator, it's going to perform better, obviously, and it's going to work for you better. Now, I'll be 100% honest. I have a cheap generator, and the reason I had the cheap generator, because it was affordable. And you know, this last winter, I said, well, you know, we're going to see how we do with it through the winter, and we got through it fine with no issues. Those cheap generators, you're looking at about a year, you know, because they're not designed to run it like we run it in the wintertime. I mean, in the wintertime, if we can go, you know, week, 10 days, 2 weeks with no sunshine at all. Even with a cloud, you're getting some sun in your panels, but you're not generating the power that you need to run everything. So you end up running the generator more. Down the road, I want to definitely upgrade my generator. But at this point right now, I'm still using that cheaper generator. And but I like the aspect of having a generator that is an automatic thing, where if the batteries get down to a certain level, it'll kick on automatically. Propane is a real good option. If you can get a generator that has propane and gas option, I think that's a great thing to have, because if you're running gas, great. And if we can't get gas anymore, if there's an issue where there's no gas anymore, then what are you going to do? So, you know, those are all things that need to be taken into consideration. But I've still gone with a cheap generator for right now. There's priorities on things that I'm trying to do. So it's like, that wasn't like the top priority, because what we were using is working. And if I have to replace it, I'm looking at about $500 to replace that generator. So that's, you know, that's a very affordable option, unfortunately. I mean, and it's, you know, it's, if you want to call it being lazy, that's being lazy. But I would like to definitely get like a Generac down the road, but you know, you're talking $4,000 or $5,000 for that type of generator. And you know, and then I would definitely want it to be hooked to the propane. That I would definitely want to do it that way.
No, I would tend to agree. I've been doing a lot of research because I have a cheaper version right now, and I've been asking, let's say, like Rudy over Alaska Prepper, people like yourself, on their concept of generators. And I like the diesel ones, but the diesel ones are extremely expensive. And the only reason I say diesel is because the diesel keeps better than regular gas, even with with a stable in it. So I've been pondering what I'm going to do, because here in Florida, you know, we're extremely susceptible to hurricanes and power outages. So it's good to have a generator on hand.
Absolutely.
Now, I've always been curious, Ed. I consider you a prep setter, you know, which is a prepper homesteader kind of, you know, gentleman.
Right. Right.
Was there anything that in your life that triggered you to get into prepping before you got into homesteading? Of course, you know, like, is something in your life that triggered you to become a prepper?
Absolutely. Yep. And I've talked about this, you know, before, and you know, with all the videos I got, some people have heard it and some probably haven't. For me, the event was Hurricane Katrina back in 2005. 2005, my twins were 4 years old. My stepson was 10. I was still with my wife at that point. And when Hurricane Katrina happened, in the response by the government and what happened with those people down there, which was an absolute nightmare. And it really opened my eyes. And I went, man, we can't rely on them. We better rely on ourselves. And I got thinking to myself at that point, here I got these children. And if something happens, who are they looking to take care of them? They're looking at me, because dad is the one that takes care of everything. So I was just like, I got to do something. And that really was the first part of it that got me into prepping. So I started prepping and I started doing a lot of research, and I wish I could remember the book, and I can't remember the book, but I read a book and a lot of great useful information in the book. But the one thing that stood out to me in the book more than anything else when I read this book, the guy that wrote it was an ex-consultant for the U.S. government, and he was consulting with them about prepping and off-grid properties and all that type of stuff. And he said, if you can live at your retreat full time, he said, it's the best thing that you can possibly do, because number one, when an SHTF event happens, and I was living in suburbia, okay, you're getting one trip out. So if you have your bug out location, and if you don't have that fully stocked with everything that you need, whatever you got at your house, you're getting one trip out. So you got to prioritize what you're going to take. But if you're living at your homestead or your bug out retreat full time, everything's already in place. So you don't have to worry about it. So my thought process was, okay, so if I was at work and SHTF happened, then the wife and the kids would already be home. So that was part of it as well. And so they're already safe. I just got to get home. And so that was a big part of all of it for me, was having everything here in one place. I don't have to worry about bugging out anywhere because I'm at my bug out location. And that was what got me started looking for property. And I bought my first piece of property. I had bought 10 acres. We were up on the side of a mountain, 1.2 miles in from the main road. And when I had got the permit for the town to build my building, the guy had no idea where my property was. So he goes, well, your lot, off of this road. I'm like, yeah. Well, he never came. So then the people up there told me, they're like, listen, man, don't get permits. Just build what you want to build. And if they catch up down the road, they catch up down the road. And I was like, okay. So, we started doing stuff there. And then, the divorce happened and I had to sell that property as part of the divorce because, of course, in New York State, they get half of everything. So, every 8 to 10 years, I like to give away half of my stuff. That's it's a pattern that has happened in my adult life. But now I've only been married twice. I only did it twice. But anyway, so what happened was, then I looked for my next property, and I wanted it to be in a location it was going to be more suitable for what I was looking for. And I was very, very fortunate to find the property here, and absolutely looked at it, and it was pretty raw and it needed a lot of work, but I was like, I could see what it could become. And so that's how we got started. And and then we got up here and we just got to work.
Now, me personally, I'm a few steps back from where you're at. I'm in kind of a suburb area. We're currently hunting for property and getting moving forward for the homesteading thing. Hopefully within the next 6 to 18 months, we have a plan. Depending on our finances, depending on the property that we find and whatnot, we're really digging for a property with hopefully a natural water source on there and some other stuff. Now, for folks that are like myself that are kind of getting into homesteading or looking to take that next step, do you have any suggestions or helpful tips in regards to folks, following that path?
Absolutely. What you have to look at, like I said, if you got the wife and the kids, you have to sit down and really discuss where you want to be, what kind of location you want to be in, what resources, like you said, like a spring or a well or some form of a water source on the property. That's huge. I'll be honest with you. That is a huge, huge part of it. If you can have a well or a spring or a creek or whatever, a river, whatever the case may be, if you can find something like that, makes all the difference in the world, especially with comfortability and how you're going to live your life. But so for me, my priorities when I went to look for a property, and everybody's is going to be different. Okay. I wanted high elevation, and that was a strategic move because I wanted high elevation because in an SHTF event, people are going to take the path of least resistance, which is the flat road down at the bottom of the hill. They're not going to come up the hill. So that's a big part of it for me. I wanted high elevation. I wanted a water source. I wanted to be off the beaten path with a lot less people around. So where some people want to be closer to town, I want to be farther away from town. So, those were all things that I was looking for. And when I found this property, I live on a dead end dirt road, off a side road. So it's not like, there's not a ton of traffic. On our road, the only traffic that we get up here, basically we get UPS and all those guys that are delivering packages and the people that live up here, and then the garbage men, that's it. And it's awesome, and everybody knows everybody. So, and that's another big part of it. Once you make a move, look at the community that you want to live in, look at the people that are there, get an idea, go there at night, see how their behavior is at night, because if you during the day they could be sleeping when you're looking at this property, then at night they're out there hooting and hollering and raising Cain. I don't want to deal with that, you know what I mean? So you really have to look at every aspect of where you want to be, logistically, what you want, what your priorities are, school districts, all those type of things. It's a big part of it as well. So you really, especially if you have school age children, if you're not homeschooling. So there's a lot that goes into it, but you got to sit down and you really got to make a plan, make sure everybody's on board, and go from there.
Thank you, Native, for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have 64 likes and 101 watching. We can do better than that, folks. Just a little side note, but thanks, Native, for pumping that out for me, man. I appreciate that, brother. And I get lost in chat sometimes when I'm sitting there staring at this stuff.
No, that's all right.
Mean stuff, man. But no, that is solid information. Another thing that me and the wife started this year is gardening. I've been getting a lot of gardening tips. I have a friend named Mark at Rolling Homestead, and he's been helping me a lot with stuff. Gardener Josh, there's a lot of folks out there that are a lot better at gardening than I am. And now, when you got your homestead, because I know you've been doing your garden beds and whatnot like that, have you always been somewhat of a gardener or green thumb, or did you kind of, progress and learn different skills as you became a better gardener?
Well, for me, it started out, we grew up on a farm,
Okay.
So we always had gardens going. When we lived with my grandparents always had an acre garden. So, I learned a lot from them. The older generation was more than happy to teach. And so, and I loved being outside. I loved being in the garden. So I learned a lot there. Wherever I've been, even when I lived in the city, I always had a garden. Not to the size that we have now and doing what we're doing now, but, I always had a garden and always, growing, and just 90%, honestly, of gardening is the soil. If you get good soil, that makes all the difference, what kind of garden you're going to have. And obviously, appropriate sunlight and not too much sun, and, and those type of things as well. But it's just, it's trial and error. I would encourage people, I want people to think about this. SHTF happens tomorrow. The woods are going to be hunted dry in no time at all. You look back to the Great Depression, it took over 30 years for the woods to come back, the animals in the woods to come back from how much they were hunted down, because that's how people were eating. Think about how many more people we have in this country as opposed to when the Great Depression was here. We got a lot more people now.
Right.
So there's not going to be hunting. Hunting is going to be over with really, really quickly. We're going to be growers and we're going to be gatherers. So the more that you can learn now with gardening, getting fruit trees, figuring out what works and what doesn't work, what I try to explain to people is learn now when it's not life and death, because you can make mistakes and nobody's going to die if you make a mistake, because you go, oh, well, then, we'll try this next time, or whatever the case may be. In an SHTF situation, it's life and death. You better know what you're doing. And so the more knowledge that you have, the more that you know and you can put into practical practice, it makes all the difference in the world.
All right. No, good advice. Since we're in, like I said, we have in a suburb area, we do have a raised garden bed. We have a lot of seedlings, but I ordered a bunch of these grow bags, these high rated grow bags. They're 5 gallons. We're going to start with the 5 gallons ones to transplant some of the seedlings into that and kind of line those folks up. And we just dropped a blackberry tree in and some other plants as well. So we figured we make the mistakes now, like you said, while we can, before we get to the homestead, we'll at least have a step in the right direction when we go to do a full size garden out there and start to build that area up.
It's a good thing. Yep. And like I said, it's nothing beats. I'm going to tell you what, if you go buy a store-bought tomato and then grow your own and taste the difference, and you would never want to eat a store-bought tomato ever again. It's just, the difference is night and day. And so when you grow your own food, and like I've had store-bought blueberries, okay, and I go, oh, these things are freaking horrible. I grow my own blueberries here. I pull them off the tree and pop them in my mouth, and they're absolutely awesome. So it really makes a difference when you have your own stuff and it's working. And it's what I encourage people to do too. Like what I've done here at the homestead, every year I plant more trees. So I always every year I plant more fruit trees or add more blueberry bushes or raspberries or whatever the case may be. Like this year, I went out and I picked up 6 more starter blueberry bushes, but then I also picked up 6 more mature blueberry bushes. So we should get blueberries off of those trees this year, or bushes, I should say. So, we'll do that. And then, I will probably in June, I'll order some more trees. We'll have them come in and we'll get them planted. And, it is a process. The biggest thing that I would tell people is realize nothing happens overnight. It takes time. So if you work at it, again, just methodically, make a game plan. Say, okay, every year we're going to plant 4 trees. So you decide, what do you want to plant? Like I have cherry trees, I have peach trees, I have plum trees, and I have apple trees. So, like one of the things that I'm going to be looking at next is different kinds of apple trees. So I have a variety of a choice of apple trees as opposed to just having the ones that I have. I can like Heather loves Honeycrisp. She loves Honeycrisp apples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of Honeycrisp apple trees, and then I'm going to plant those. But the key to planting trees, because learn from somebody that made the mistakes. When you buy trees, go ahead and spend the money, buy the more mature tree. Something that is already 6 foot tall, okay? Because the difference is if you buy the little sapling tree, you're going to be waiting 5-6 years before you get any kind of produce off that tree. Where if you buy the more mature tree, that growth process has already been done. You plant that tree, within a couple of years, you should have, vegetable or fruits from those trees. And that makes a big, big difference. Big difference.
Now, since we're talking about this, I always like to ask folks, because I've been researching this for quite some time now and learning a lot in regards to wild edibles and also medicinal plants. Are you familiarized with the stuff in your area, or do you grow some of those plants as well?
Yeah, I showed on the property we have wild leeks. Other places they call them, oh my God, I can't remember what they said, because somebody said, well, that looks like, I can't think of the name of what they call it, but other states call it a different name, but up here we call them leeks. So I have wild leeks on the property. We have medicinal plants. We have other edible plants. What I would encourage people to do too, and if you don't put anything else in your bug out bag, put in a book on how to have with medicinal plants and wild edibles, because literally there's so much food out there to eat that you can eat constantly and not be hungry. It's going to be a lot of, there's a lot of wild stuff out there to eat, and it's there. And most people would walk right by. There you go. Yep. Exactly. But I think it's so important to have what I try to explain to people too. Knowledge is power. So the more things that you have, and I want you to think about this too. Right now we go, oh, I'll just look it up on the internet, or I'll look it up on my phone. That's great. What if they're not there? So you better have first aid books. You better have, construction books. If you don't have those skills, knowing different things, having different information that you can look at in a post event, because guess what? All of a sudden now you got nothing but time, and your time is going to be, safety, getting ready for winter, preparing your, to survive basically. So you got to think about prioritizing what's important, what's not important, but having those books and be able to say, okay, well, it's, 6 o'clock, we're done working for the day. We're going to read for a while. And, and there you go. And now you've got all kinds of information to look at. And like I said, the more information you have, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, and I've suggested folks, I'll touch on the edibles real quick. Depending on where you're at and where you live, like I just got this book in the other day because the Petersons are great. They're solid books. But I wanted something that specifically to my area. So I found a book that's specifically to Florida. So it gives me more of a centralized area where I can search for certain stuff and learn the stuff around my area specifically.
That's smart. That's smart.
And then a lot of preppers will suggest this book here for medicine and survival medicine and whatnot. So
I have the same one. I
got books all over here. I got stacks of books because I'm continuously reading and researching. To me, I feel that it's extremely important. What's up, Papa Prepper? Good to see you, brother. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's the more, like I said, having all those books and stuff. And that's, like I said, when I first got started, I was like, just any kind of information that I could get, I was taking it in and trying to figure out everything and anything. And, I'll have people say to me, man, you really know a lot of stuff, but it's just part of it is doing it is part of it. But the other part of it is wanting that knowledge, seeking it out, reading, studying. And then, once you figure something out and you go, okay, that'll work. Let's try it. Let's see how it works. And so, all of it falls together. It all falls together. And it's amazing how, once it comes together, and I'm going to tell you what, it's like, I know for myself, once I made the move here to the homestead, I had people tell me when we first got here, and they were like, we were here maybe a year, and people were like, you can just see what a better frame of mind you're in. And I'm going to tell you what, our first couple of years up here were not easy at all. They were not easy. But, you set a goal. I mean, we didn't have running water for a year and a half. So that gives you an example of something. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we finally had running water and I was finally able to take a hot shower in my own house, with a hot water on demand unit, that was a wonderful, wonderful day. And it's things that people just take for granted, but it's just, it's that little victories like that really, it gets you going, and it really motivates you.
Oh, I agree. You guys in chat are awesome. Just want to state that you guys are great folks. I'm trying to pay attention to you guys and edit at the same time. I've been watching some of you guys is chatting up, and I'm sorry if I missed anybody. There's a lot of folks in chat. I figured all you guys would start rolling in eventually. But thanks so much. And Gardner Josh, you don't have to top Ed, man. You have your own realm of things, brother. That's why I'm going to have you as a guest on the channel, man. So don't get intimidated, man. I know it would be your first live stream, but it'll be fun. Don't worry, man. I'll make it easy for you. A lot of good folks in chat. Where was I going to go with this? Now that I got lost in that.
Okay. It was off for a second. It was completely off for a second.
Oh, the chat or our voices?
Our voices, no picture, no nothing for a moment. So
that's the only benefit of like the StreamYard. If worst case something happens, if you're on YouTube streaming live on YouTube and there's a power outage or something happens on your end, it's gone. This will stay running and then you can just pop back in. So there's
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a plus.
Well, I saw you talking about with the gardener. So this, I want people to realize, okay, it's not a competition. This is not a competition. Any knowledge or any information that we can glean from anybody else that maybe has done something and it works for them and they're willing. I'm going to tell you what, one of the beauties of being a prepper and being an off-gridder, what I have found, myself and other people, we're willing to share any information that we have. Because, I live this. This is my life. This is what I live. I've been off-grid, going on 7 years. So I think I kind of know what I'm talking about, from that aspect of it, where, the highs and the lows and all those type of things. But any information that anybody has, if somebody says, well, hey, I do this and this works really well for me, I may go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to try that. And, and then again, I may say, yeah, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. But giving advice and stuff, that's a great thing. And that's what I really find with a lot of preppers and off-gridders and stuff. Always willing to share information, always willing to help. You know, anybody has questions, it is really, really cool. And again, to me personally, it's not a competition. It really isn't. It's we got to help each other. Because here's the other thing that I think people don't understand, and I try to always reiterate this a lot when I do my streams and I talk about when SHTF happens. Those of us that are semi-ready, partly ready, or fully ready, or whatever, you're never going to be fully ready. I'll tell you right now, I'm not fully ready. I'll never be 100% where I want to be. And I'm probably more ready than 99.9% of the people out there. Okay. And I'm not where I want to be. But we're going to have a lot of people out there that are not ready at all. And they're going to want to take what you have. They're going to want, you know, there's going to be a lot of takers in that post-event type of situation. So those of us that can get together, work together, and say, hey, you know what, let's get together, let's work together, be willing to work together, it's going to help our own survival. And I think that's so important. And making those connections now, while it's not the end of the world as we know it, is so important, because in a post-event, it's going to be very, very hard to trust people because you don't know what their motivation is.
Right on. Just wanted to say thank you to Monty and Gardner Josh for the super chats. I did see those go by. So thank you guys so much for that. You guys are now in the running for the May super chat of the month giveaway. And you guys know I'll be wrapping up the April here Thursday. That being said, Monty, I might do this for a members only thing. I did do a test flight of the USS Monty. Long story, Ed. People kept on super chatting me to get this drone.
Oh, okay.
And Monty was very adamant. So I got the drone and we kind of named it the USS Monty.
I got you.
I took it on its first flight today. So maybe I'll cut and paste that together and put something for you members to kind of see the initial flight of the USS Monty. So that being said, Prep for it. Thank you so much again for the super chat as well. A lot of you folks know what I do with the super chat, so hopefully everybody understands that, and I don't have to go into detail in regards to the super chat of the month giveaway. Matter of fact, I talked to you, Ed, about it. I think it's a great idea a way for me to give back to you folks that like to use that option to support the channel. So that being said, we are over the 30. We're about almost 37, 38 minutes, and if you guys yeah, if you guys start having questions in regards to, if you guys want to have questions for Ed, put them in all caps. You can either tag me in it or just type PrepperNurse1 or something where I can see it. I may miss them. Ed may catch them. My mods may catch them, but we'll see what's going on with that. So I'll let you guys start generating some questions here. Homestead Oz, good to see you guys all the way from Australia. And that being said, what kind of to touch on what Ed was saying, that's how I look at a lot of the folks that I bring on the channel. If you guys notice, I diversify the guests. I've had guests on here that barely even have a YouTube. And then I've had guests on here that have a large channel. We all have something to bring to the table. And I love learning from each and every one of you, as well as the subscriber base. We all learn something like that. So I think it's good. Tiger454, thank you so much for that chat. Great chat. Love PrepperNurse1. Been following him for years.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Good dude. Yeah,
as have I. I've learned a lot from Ed. There's a lot of folks that I watch, and I don't know if you run into this problem, Ed, because as I'm trying to produce content and be consistent, trying to keep up with watching content and trying to put stuff in people's chat and stuff. It's super hard now. It
is. As your channel grows and you get bigger, there's a lot more demands on you. I get a tremendous amount of emails. I have a lot of people have my phone number because I've always been very willing to give that out and talk to people. So, I mean, I get a lot of phone calls. So I'll tell you what I do a lot. Like today, Becky and I were working in the greenhouse. I leave my phone in the house because I want to focus on the task at hand, get things done that I want to get done. And then later, when I'm done with whatever I'm doing, then I'll look and I'll see. Like you actually had called me when I was out working in the greenhouse, and so I called you back after I got done with that. And that's a big part of it. And that, I think a lot of people really don't ever they don't understand it. We're busy trying to continue to do things that we're doing. we're trying to talk to people, you know, and like I said, it's like, you know, when you get like 200 emails a day, you know, you can't answer everybody. You just can't, you know. I have people send me all kinds of information. And so, you know, I try to watch different content that they send me as well, because they're like, Ed, check this out, you know. And so I'm trying to watch that stuff as well. And it's just, it's a lot. And, but it's like, so if anybody, please don't anybody ever feel slighted. I'm not trying to slight anybody. It's just, you get busy and there's only so many hours in the day, and I'm still trying to get things done here. And to me, that has to be the priority. The priority has to be what I'm focusing on here, whatever, you know, project I'm working on. And again, weather-wise, it always makes a big difference of what we can do. And, you know, when it's raining and, you know, you can't get outside to do stuff, then there's other things, you know. So, but it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's just, you know, you just, anybody out there, like I said, just keep doing the best you can. That's all you can do. Just keep working at it.
Agreed. I was looking at this, you know, whoever out there who hit the thumbs down, I always tell you guys, thanks so much for watching. Truly appreciate it.
Well, I have a dedicated group that really, really dislike me. But you know what the best part is? And you know, it's funny. Now I have very, very loyal base that watch everything. You know, they're always very interactive and they're awesome. I'm very, very blessed to have such awesome people that follow the channel. But your haters are more dedicated than your most loyal subscriber, believe it or not. They watch everything that you do. They're looking for any kind of mistake that you're going to make to try to call you out on it. And that's why I always tell people, I don't lie, because then I don't have to remember anything. So I'm honest to a fault. I share the good and the bad. And, you know, the different things that have happened because of being on YouTube. Anybody that's watched the channel knows I've been swatted. I've had CPS called on me twice when the kids were younger, you know, and I've had the letters written to the town, you know. So it's always, they're trying to cause you problems, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't. So, you know, they're very sad people that have nothing better to do with their lives. And, you know, maybe mom is not up there making the kind of sandwich that they want while they're hiding in their basement. I don't know. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's just, you have to feel sorry for people like that.
I love how you and Jason handle that stuff, man. It's great. I'm learning to get there myself. All right. So I'm probably way behind now with questions. Cat Lady Prepper 23 meow ask GreyMan, ask Ed what made Prepper Nurse want to live off grid and why?
The reason that I wanted to live off grid is because I wanted to be as free and as independent as I possibly could be. And that's really one of the bastions that are left out there to be able to do that. So with being off grid, the power company doesn't own me. So with having my own power company, if you will, my own power source, it's a really good feeling, because anybody out here watching, if you are on grid at all and you don't pay your bill, you're going to be threatened to be shut down. That's what happens. So, and if that happens, you have no power. And if you don't have power, and if you live in suburbia or a city or whatever, then they condemn your home because you have to have power. It's all part of the wicked cycle that they have of control in games. And to me, I wanted to be as free as I possibly could be. And so that's why I wanted to be off grid, because they don't own me. And it pisses them off, which is another little bonus of it.
I just want to say thank you, Rudy from Alaska Prepper, for joining us this evening. You know, you're one of my good friends, brother. I truly appreciate you joining us. All right, on to the questions. Rolling Homestead, Mark from Rolling Homestead and Wild Edibles in Wisconsin says, Ed, what kind of water storage do you use?
I have two different ways that I do water storage. So I have my well, which is an artesian well, so the water's always coming up all the time. And what I have is I have a 1,000-gallon storage tank underground. Never freezes, doesn't matter, you know, what time of the year it is, that water's always there. And then I pump it into my house, and then it's going to be pumped into my sister's house as well, because they're getting their water hooked up this spring. And so then what I also have is I have a 550-gallon rain catchment system off of the roof from the gutters And I use that water. That's the water I use for my gardens. So I use nothing but rainwater for my gardens when I, watering the trees, whatever I'm doing as far as that goes. That's where all that water comes from. And so I've had a couple times that got down pretty low because of the fact, you're using it every day in the summertime. And then if you're not getting any rain, it's not filling back up. But so that's the way that I do it. And so SHTF happens and we have a EMT happen, I will still have access to the well because it's right there. The water's right there. So that's I could drop a garden hose down there and siphon that, and I can have plenty of water that way as well. So that, there's not a concern there because that water's always coming up. And that's the beauty of having an artesian well.
Gotcha. And thanks for sharing, brother. And we're going to I'm trying to stay on top of these questions here. This one should be pretty easy. Bruce CYR, is Ed still looking to move to West Virginia?
Actually, so the game plan is, guys, I'm leaving here the 22nd of May, and Heather and I are going to be taking a trip down to West Virginia. And I'm pretty focused on West Virginia right now because less population, cheaper land. It has what I'm looking for. I want to be in the mountains. I want to be in the woods. So what I'm going to look for is something that works for me, and I'll know it when I find it. And so we're going to be taking that road trip. And if I find a piece of property, I'm going to buy it. And what the game plan is, I'm not immediately moving down there. So I don't want people to think, well, because people are like, why are you still doing so much stuff at your homestead if you're just going to sell it and move? Well, if I do decide to sell here, which I haven't decided yet, it wouldn't be to 2 to 3 years down the road. So if I have a new homestead, what I'm going to do is when winter comes here in New York, I'm going to head down there, spend my winter down there working on that property for 4 or 5 months while the weather is crappy up here, which it is a lot. And then, be able to do that. And so then I can go back and forth between both homesteads. If it works out good and I really, really like it down there, and I make the decision that once I get a little bit of infrastructure in place down there, and if I decide I want to sell the property here, then that's what we're going to do. And we're all going to go. My sister Margie, my sister Becky, my mom, and then my niece and her 2 boys. So we would go we'd be, like I said, like the Clampetts. We'll be loaded up and going down the road. So, but here's an example. There's a piece of property close to me that I could pick up 3 acres. The price of land has gone up crazy up here in New York. I probably looking at about $15,000 to get 3 acres. Okay. If I can go down to West Virginia and pick up land at $1,000 an acre, it just makes much more sense to me. And it's not as restrictive as up here. There would be, there's not the codes and, you got to get your permits and you got to do all that. I could go down there. I could go into the center of a property. Say I got 30 acres, or if I picked up 40 acres, just as an example, and I don't know what I'm going to find, but if I found something like that, I could go into the center of that property, build something, and nobody cares. And, so I like that aspect of it. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. Okay.
Thank you, brother. Homestead Oss says, PrepperNurse1, I've watched you since you started your channel. What is the main area you have changed since starting?
The main thing I've changed. Well, when I first started, I was still in my house in Greece, New York, doing videos from my basement, and I had my stuff there and stuff like that. And probably the biggest thing that's changed for me is, once we got out here, it is such a huge learning curve. And, you go into and even myself, and I got to be honest, when I came out here, I had the rose colored glasses on. It's all going to be wonderful and rainbows and sunshine, and this is going to be fantastic. Well, once you're there and you're at your homestead, and now the reality sets in, and you don't have every single creature comfort that you're used to having, and it's going to take a while to get those creature comforts. It's difficult, and some people can do it and some people can't. And so, for me, the biggest thing that changed, I've learned so much. I think my knowledge base is just like, if 3 years ago, I never would have been able to make the raised beds that I just made. Never would have been able to make them. So when my brother-in-law came up and we worked on them together, the ones we did last year, and you know, we did those, and I had the 3 more to make this year. I said I didn't like the way some of them came out, and so I'm like, I want to do it, you know, differently. And I'll never forget. And I had somebody say, and I was so mad about this. This made me so mad, because I want you to remember when we did those 6 beds last year, I moved every piece of concrete. I put every piece of rebar in there. I put every bag of Quikrete in those beds. He sat there and was doing them while I was feeding him the block and stuff like that. And so I did a lot of the work for it that was just a straight bulwark. And so when I was getting ready this spring, and I said, yeah, I'm going to be putting in 3 more raised beds, and I had one person say, and it's always, you know, well, who are you going to have do it for you? And I was like, what? You know, I'm going to do it, you know, because now I know what I want to do and I know how I want to do it. And I'll be honest, and I'm not trying to brag, I think the 3 beds I made came out way better than the other 6, you know, because I was really trying to make sure that it was the right way. The first one's got a little bit of a wonkiness to it, but hey, you know, it was the first one I ever made. So, you know, what are you going to do? But it was funny because I get to the last one and Becky goes, man, you really got it down now. And I go, yeah. And this is the last one. And I'm done. You know? So, but it's, you know, it's the pride in your work. It's figuring out what you need to do and then just doing it. And I like I said, that aspect of it has really been a really cool change for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. And like I said, you learn as you go and you get better and better at it.
Yep.
On to the next question. Survival Julia says, at PrepperNurse1, what was one of your most difficult transitions from on-grid to off-grid?
Probably the biggest transition in the very beginning was lack of power. That was definitely when you're used to just walking in and flipping a switch and everything works great. And, you know, I really had to baby my batteries, keep an eye on things constantly. It was always worrying about, you know, do we have enough? I didn't want the batteries to go too low, because, you know, if you go too low on your batteries, you kill your batteries, and that's just, then you're done. And then those batteries are no good. So I've always babied my batteries. Even with the new batteries, I still watch them constantly. But, you know, that the lack of power and the lack of just everyday creature comforts probably was the biggest thing for me. But this is something I want people to realize, okay? When I made this transition, I don't ever have a water bill anymore. I don't ever have a gas and electric bill anymore. And, you know, my taxes are cheaper because I live way out in the country. And, you know, I'm able to have more land than I had where I was before. And I don't have neighbors right on top of me. So there's a lot more peace and quiet, which is definitely helpful for your life. You lower your footprint, you make your life better. It gives you peace, and you're not going out there working that 9-to-5 grind to pay somebody else the majority of that money all the time. You're keeping more of your money in your pocket. Now, I've put a lot of my money back into the property, but that was by my choice. But everything that we've done here, everything that you see that we've done here is all done by cash. I did not go into debt to do it. I mean, with the building that I'm living in, it was a 3-year mortgage on that. So, you know, and I'll never forget, it was so funny because when I bought the building and I had 3 years of payments on this building. And I had people saying to me, oh my God, you're going right back into debt. And I went, wait a minute, I'm going into debt for 3 years, not 30. Big difference. And I actually paid it off before the 3 years was done. And so, and once that was paid off, guess what? Now it's mine free and clear. Becky and Mom just paid their 12th payment on their building. Okay. They got 2 more years to go, and that building is completely paid for as well. But, you know, so they have that payment every month, but that's it, you know? And so it really does make a huge difference investing in yourself and sacrificing in the short time for the long-term goal, which is that independence and that freedom. And I'm going to tell you what, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yeah, I bet. I've noticed something in chat. LB Ramirez, you said you came over from Alaska Prepper, and I see a lot of folks have said that. So I'm not sure. Rudy must have told folks to come over here or something happened. So thanks, Rudy, and welcome all the Alaska Prepper ladies and gentlemen over here. I call them ladies and gentlemen because that's
right.
Rudy's term. But thanks, folks, for joining us this evening. Truly appreciate that for you guys joining us as well. Now, let me see if I can catch up to where we're at. I'm a little bit behind. Skip through that. That only means you made it. Yeah, I'm way behind. I'm looking at the timestamps. It says 9:45. I don't know what the time is.
It's almost 10.
It's almost 10. So I'm 15 minutes behind in chat. Wow. PrepperNurse1, will you be getting a tattoo soon? Firefly Farms asked that question.
Okay, so as anybody that's followed my channel knows, and I've said this, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, so I'm at 93,000, like 150 right now. When I hit 100,000 subscribers, I will have STD tattooed on my body. So just so anybody, you know, if you want to help push towards that, that will definitely be going on there. I do want to have a tattoo for my kids, and I'm going to have that put over my heart with their names and their birth date. And so, because they're twins, Eddie and Heather are twins. So I'm going to have their names in a heart and with their date of birth, and because they have my heart. So I definitely do plan on doing that. I haven't decided. I'm thinking about, like, on this part of my arm, doing something on that and there, because my upper arm's got the tattoos already. I have tattoos on my back. So, you know, I've thought about that. I'm not sure yet. That part of it all really depends, but I definitely do want to get the one for Eddie and Heather. And then, like I said, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I want to, you know, be able to be talking to a tattoo artist. It's going to be like okay with me videotaping them doing that tattoo. And I have no idea where I'm going to put that yet. So we'll just kind of cross that bridge when we get there. But that's the game plan.
Nice. Yeah, I got plenty of them as well. I guess if I ever get to 100,000 subscribers, I will do a subscriber choose the tattoo or something like that. People are going to mark my words now that I said that on the live stream. They're going to go back to this one day.
Right.
And welcome, Jeff. I saw that Jeff as well. Jeff Kosas. Hey, fellas, was that AP live stream ended early so we could join you guys? That's awesome. Thanks so much, folks.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, like I said, the community, you know, when I first started, I started my channel on December 13th of this year, or not of this year, of 2020. And the outpouring of support and great people that I've met, it's brought it to my attention that how wonderful this prepping community is. I never knew it existed beyond, other than when I used to just watch content on YouTube. I never, you know, live streams weren't a big thing. And now that I'm involved in it, it's just so many great people.
I'm going to tell you what, I have met some fantastic people that I never would have met other than through the YouTube channel. You know, and there's just so many fantastic people. And the cool thing is, regardless of background, regardless of race or religion, preppers have a certain mindset. Off-gridders have a certain mindset. And we're all in that same mindset. When we did the prepper get-together 2 years ago, and I'm still working on seeing if I can get that going this year. And if I can, I will let everybody know as soon as I get that set up. But when we did the get-together 2 years ago, we had people from all over the states come to that get-together. Mm-hmm. And it was an unbelievable outpouring of brotherhood and sisterhood of just like-minded people. Everybody got along. Strangers were sitting there having conversations because we're all on the same page. And, you know, there's just some absolutely fantastic people. And I just think that it's awesome. And, you know, like I said, I've met so many. Like today, I was over at my friends Patty and John's house and, you know, visiting with them. And, you know, they have, you know, their retreat and they have doing what they're doing at their place. And, you know, they had contacted me originally and, you know, because they watched the channel, and asked me if I would come and speak at a prepper get-together group that they do like once a month. And I was like, sure. And so I got there and then we just became great friends. And they're absolutely awesome people, like salt of the earth type of people. Mm-hmm. And I find that most people that are into this, that are awake and that are realizing that we need to do something, most people are just very, very squared away and just good people in general.
Agreed. There's always, everybody says there's always one. And yes, I understand there's always one, but the majority of folks are phenomenal folks.
Right.
And Rudy threw that up there. So I wanted to show that Rudy is voting for a tattoo of an avocado for myself. If I hit 100,000 subs.
That's why you got to be careful what you say, because you got to follow through when you do it. So
agreed, brother. Agreed. That's awesome. And there are other folks are putting the emoji of avocados. So that might be set in stone, folks. Rolling Homestead. Yes. So Harvey Black, if you notice, I am drinking stainless steel. I read your email. I'm going to try to go to that challenge of not doing plastics, with the BPAs, BPSs and stuff, that information. So I'm going to try, Harvey. I'm going to give it my best shot, man. So I'm doing stainless steel, ceramics and stuff like that. So if people are wondering why, because usually I have a ton of water bottles here, Ed, and there's a lot of stuff about BPA and BPS.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, well, like I said, I purify all my water through my Berkey, and I drink it with glass, obviously. So I really push a lot of water, but any water I drink, I put through my Berkey first. And so, yeah, I don't use plastic bottles that way at all. The avocados are all over. That's fun.
Yeah, it's great. Oh man, use glass, dude. People have been doing it for generations. Yeah, be charming. I do. Here's the funny thing is I don't know if I can use the glass I have, because in my shop we had Budweiser send us a bunch of glass, these tall glass, because we have a bar in part of my shop, and I don't know if I could be drinking Budweiser glasses. I don't know if it'll mess with YouTube or not. So
well, I don't know. I don't know if that would do it or not. I mean, because like I said, I have no affiliation with Berkey, and I talk about Berkey all the time. So.
Yeah, no, Berkeys are phenomenal water filtrations. Now, real quick, oops, now people are going to ask questions because I had a question. What is your favorite recipe? Jen G says, what is your favorite recipe to make with wild edibles?
Oh my goodness. It would depend on the time of year and what I was harvesting. Like when you're looking at wild raspberries, for an example, when they're out there, we go out and just pick a ton of them and then bring them in to add a little sugar. And, you don't even need the sugar, but, it's like, that's what we do. And it's just eat them like that. I mean, there's a great meal that way. It's a fantastic way to eat. So, that's that's one of the things. But yeah, there's so many. There's so many different wild edibles out there that you can eat at any time. Different times of the year, different things. Like I said, the leeks, they're a spring item, and as you get later, they don't taste as well. So, but they're a good thing to have, and you can eat those raw. So.
And someone, I think Mark had said it a while back. I think the other term is ramps or something like that.
Ramps, that's what it was. Yes. Yep. Yeah, because we call them leeks up here. Once you go into the south, they call them ramps. Why? Who knows? Everybody, well, it's just different parts of the country. The people have different accents. Even, you know what I mean. Even in New York, if I go down to Brooklyn, or if I go down to the Bronx, just even in the city of New York City, there's different accents, and It's amazing. And it's like, because New York is so big. And you go to different parts of New York, people speak differently, and you're like, really? So yeah, it's big. It's weird how that works, but it is just the way it is.
Rudy, I want to say thank you. Really appreciate that, brother, for joining the Grey family, the members tab, man. You didn't have to do that, but truly appreciated, Rudy. You're like like I said, a brother from another mother, man. A brother from another mother. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. And let me see if I mix. I paused that for a second. Great.
I saw Andrea said she's never tried leeks. What you want to do is take some scrambled eggs, scramble up some eggs, put some leeks in there. Very, very good. It'll make it that much better. Just it's like a wild onion is what a leek is, or a ramp, whatever terminology you use for it.
Yeah, we had some. The wife had some onions, and she cut the. Not the green onions, you know what I mean?
Right.
She cut that bottom piece off. I got those growing now.
Yep, that's cool.
Trying to reuse everything possible and do some fun stuff with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Let me see. I make tea in a 4-cup Pyrex measure cup and drink it from there. LOL. Hey, I do have Pyrex, Harvey. Prep for it. AP. I never tried leeks. Oh, okay. That's where you saw that at.
Yep. Yep.
You know, it's funny. So Mark calls them roots. I call them roots, but now I find myself calling them roots now without actually knowing that I'm calling them roots.
That's funny.
He's in Wisconsin, so there's definitely a different.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever noticed Jason over at the Angry Prepper when he talks about a compass, he'll say compass?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man, I die laughing every time, but I don't know why I think it's funny, but it's great.
Oh yeah, well, it's like I said, different parts of the country, people speak differently. So, like, I'll have people say to me, "I really like your accent," and I always joke around. I go, "I don't have an accent," you know what I mean? So, it's but there's definitely different dialects depending on what part of the country you're in and how we say different words and everything else. So.
Now, you might have an answer for this. I'm not 100% sure. So, because Cheryl Zeman says, does wildflower raw honey last forever like regular raw honey does? Someone said it doesn't.
Yes, it absolutely does. Honey is honey. When they opened the tomb of Tutankhamun 2,000 years later, the honey was still edible. It was still usable. That was in that tomb. So honey will last. Doesn't matter. As long as it's not the processed crap you're buying at the grocery store. If you're getting honey right from a beekeeper, or like that, or the wild honey like that honey will last forever. Now, it'll solidify, and all you really have to do to make it go back to a liquid form is take your jar of honey, put it out in the sun, and just let it sit there, and it'll naturally go right back to liquid because of the heat of the sun and stuff like that. It'll put it right back into a liquid form. Or you could go with a low flame on the stove if you want to do it that way too. But you use the sun if you have to. But yeah, honey's not going to go bad. It'll solidify, but it's going to last forever. It's one of the things that you definitely want to have in your preps for a couple reasons. It's a sweet source, and we are a sweet addicted society. That's my weakness. I like my sweets, so I have. God, I'll bet you I got 40 pounds of honey put aside right now, at least 40. Yeah, so I mean, it's just, but I like honey, so I like honey in my tea when I drink tea. So
yeah, honey has so many different uses. It's a great product to prep. Now, someone has said a while back, and this is kind of loop into the question I'm going to pull up, but someone said that you need to ask Ed some medical questions, because everybody knows that I was a medic in the military, and I think you were a nurse, and weren't you a medic as well at one point?
No, I was never a medic in the military. I was actually an interior electrician, 51 Romeo.
Okay.
Was an interior electrician. I was part of a combat engineer unit, 20th Engineer Brigade down in on Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We were the 153rd Engineer Detachment attached to the 20th Engineer Brigade. So I was attached to an airborne unit, and we weren't airborne. Our unit wasn't airborne. So we were legs, and we used to call them wind dummies.
That's great.
Yeah, so because we did everything on the ground, and they jumped out of planes. So, but and it's funny. We'll get into that in a second. But it's like when I got out of the service, then I jumped out of airplanes for fun. So go figure, right? But no, right. I didn't become a nurse. I went back to nursing school at I was 29 when I went back to school to become a nurse. So best decision I ever made. I absolutely love working with people, and having that skill set. That's a very, very valuable skill set in a post-event. Because like I told people, I said, when SHTF happens, I'm no longer a nurse. Now I'm the doctor. Right. Because that's what people are going to come to you for everything. So that's another thing that I think it's really important. Somebody asked for the best medical advice I could give. Have as many medical books as you can possibly have. First aid, setting splints, setting a broken leg, how to properly wrap with an ace bandage, a sprained ankle, any of those type of things. Those are things, and knowing how to treat somebody for different things. We are going to lose so many people in a post-event with stuff that we would not lose them with beforehand, just because we're not going to be able to medically treat them. And that's a sad thing. that is a sad thing, you know, but we're going to try to do the best that we can.
Now, you might, there's a question I'm going to get to here from Alaska Prepper, but I tell folks you'll find these in bookstores. I collect the NCLEX, which is it's the book that nurses use to study for their test.
Yes.
And there's some good information in there as well. You can find them cheap at used bookstores. Now, I'm not sure if this question is directed at me or you, but I'll let you, if you want to put input on it. It says, are vitamins that Alaska Prepper is asking, are vitamins that are past their best by date okay to consume?
It depends on the vitamin. Some vitamins are, you know, all the best by date is realistically is they need to sell it by that date. A lot of medications, depending on, you know, what the medication is as well, can be used years beyond their best by date. But certain things can't be. So, you know, I would encourage anybody, look it up, see what it says. How long will whatever last past the best by date? And that would be a good thing to do for anybody, you know, as far as that goes. But yeah, certain things can be used. Vitamins, absolutely same thing. They can be used past the best by date, you know, again, but I would encourage you to do the research first. I'm not going to come on here and I'm not going to say this is okay and that's okay and that's okay. I'm not going to do that because I'm not a doctor. So I can't do that. That's beyond my medical scope. But I can tell you, do your research, find out, and if it says, you know, you can use it for 2 years past, then go with that. You know, there are certain medications that you can use years and years beyond. Other things you cannot. So that definitely look those things up.
And Harvey might be able to find it because he's pretty quick with this stuff. But I actually did a video on medications that you should prepare for, as well as there's things that I kind of go into a little bit of detail in regards to that stuff, the types of when you're talking about, let's say, vitamin G, like anything that's liquid based, that's where you're going to have issues with. If it's liquid based, more of the, you know, the normal pills that are, you know, in hard form, those last a lot longer. You don't want to take pills out of the package and put them into something else. I know people want to put them in Mylar and stuff like that, but you can keep them inside their sealed thing in a cool, dark, dry place, just like pretty much with anything.
Right.
That will also extend the life of some of that stuff. And just kind of look at some of this stuff. You'll see certain medications or vitamins and stuff like that. They'll start to discolor. They'll have a funky odor to them. So just pay attention to some of that stuff. And I'm not giving you guys medical advice either. I'm just telling you guys to do your research. There's a video that I did, which I listen to that. I always say that on my medical vids.
Yeah, you have to, because if I recommend something and somebody does it, and then they can come back on you, you know, and so you got to be really, really like, an example would be me individually. I use fish mocks. I'm a big proponent of it. I think it's a great thing to have because antibiotics in a post-event are going to be huge. You can't get extra antibiotics from the doctors, but fish mocks or fish pen or, you know, any of those other type of things, if you're allergic to one, you want to use something else. There's a lot of options that they use. So I'll go by the example of fish mocks. Okay. If you look at the pill for fish mocks and then you go to the doctors and you say, I need a prescription for amoxicillin, same exact pill that you're feeding to your fish that you're getting from the doctor. It's the same exact pill, labeled differently. This one says, yes, you use it for fish only. This one says you can only use it for human beings. It's the same exact thing. There's absolutely no difference in it whatsoever. So again, I'm not telling you to go ahead and do it. I'm telling you that I have done it. I have run a course of fish mocks on my daughter when she had an infection, and it cleared up her infection. So, you know, again, to each their own. You can do what you want to do. But me personally, I have fish mocks in my preps. I have a lot of fish mocks in my preps because one of the things that's going to kill people a lot in a post-event is going to be infections, and people are not going to be able to treat those infections. So, you know, if you have, the way I look at it is this: something is better than nothing. So if you have something that, you know, and in this case, I personally know it works. So I'm not recommending it. I will never tell you that, yes, go out and do this. I'm telling you, as a prepper myself, I have it in my preps. I will use it, and I have used it. So, and used it successfully.
Roger that. Brent said wild catnip works great for asthma symptoms. You know, Brent, I actually have some growing in the garden. It's in the far corner for reasons like that. Plus the cat likes it.
There you go.
I am probably so far. Let me try to see if I can scroll through some of these chats here. Where was I at? My apologies, folks. When I see a question, I kind of pause the chat and then try to catch up and make sure it doesn't jump on me. And I told you, Ed, this was going to be a question. Brian Barbie says, how many eggs today, Ed?
Okay, so I did my second video and I had said it was 11 eggs today. When I went back out to lock the birds up for the night, there was another one. So we ended up having 12 eggs today, where yesterday when we had all the trauma because of Hella getting into the chicken pen or yard, we only had 7. So we had 12. We ended up with 12 eggs today.
OFC Nation. Now, this is going to be a complicated question, at least from my standpoint, because it's hard to say. But he's asking a question. He says, good evening. What is the best way to set a broken bone in the absence of a doctor or x-rays? And like I said, that's kind of a complicated question. I don't know if you want to touch on that, Ed, or not.
Well, what I would suggest, get medical books showing you exactly what you need to do and follow those instructions in that type of a situation. Obviously, you're not going to do that now. You would take the person to the doctors, okay? But yeah, emergency war surgery. Yep, that's a good one right there to have too. A lot of medical books out there with a lot of information in that emergency situation. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have access to get help or whatever, and having that information is the way to go. And so I would absolutely recommend getting that information, having that, and you should have that stuff in your library anyway, just because you never know. There may not be a medical professional available to help you out. And even if there is, we don't know everything. We don't know everything. So, you know, we might grab that book and see. So here's the thing with nurses and EMT. And this, the one thing that doesn't bother us, the sight of blood doesn't bother us, exposed organs, any of that type of stuff. We've seen it all in our careers. So it's not like, oh my God, what am I going to do? We just deal with things because that's what we're trained to do. But we don't have all the knowledge. But so if there was like a broken bone, we might have to look, okay, hold on a second. Let me look at the book. This is what I got to do. And then we'll just take care of it and we'll do it. Where other people would be too squeamish and wouldn't be able to do it. Now, is that guaranteed that that's going to heal properly and you're going to be great? No, it's no guarantee at all, especially in a post-event. You're hoping for the best, but sometimes, you know, it depends on how bad the break and if there is, you know, pieces that are, you know, not knitting properly. There's a lot that goes into it.
Agreed. A lot of folks have asked me that as well, and I'm like, a lot of the stuff I talk about when it comes to the medical stuff, when I'm talking medical stuff, I'm talking about in a post situation. I don't ever mean like use this now kind of thing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If you have the option to call 911 and get to an emergency doctor, that's the best bet while we still can.
Yes.
Now, if you're in a shift situation, that's a totally different thing.
Right.
What did I see? Sherry. So Harvey pretty much answered that question for you. And yes, in moderation. Sherry asked about honey. Is it bad for diabetics? It can spike your blood sugar depending on the type of diabetic you are. I was a diabetic for quite some time, but I'm no longer a diabetic for the last couple of years. Long story, some of you guys know about that. But yes, in moderation, it's definitely a lot healthier than the sugar that you get out of a bag that's been.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
What is it? I have hypothyroidism. What can I use when I get my meds? I have hypo. Deanna Walter says I have hypothyroid. I can't even spit it out. Hypothyroidism. What can I use when I can't get to my meds? That's a med question, and then I have to go to WebMD for medical questions. SJ Mullen. Yeah. Because each individual thing, like, because doctors, believe it or not, when you go to the doctor's office or something like that and you have something wrong with you, sometimes they will use a desk reference and look at some of the options before they actually prescribe certain things to you, and also look at your history, your medical history, what you're allergic to. There's a lot more than just like, oh, here you go, this will fix it. You know,
right? Yeah, because you got to look at your allergies, history, what other complications that you have going on with that. So, you know, if you have all kinds of other complications, it's going to be different medications are going to be subscribed for that. Again, what I try to tell people too, if you can, look for alternative forms of medication, because a lot of the pharmaceuticals, they don't want you to go to alternative forms of medication because they're not making any money off of that if you do that. But you know, and again, that's an individual choice, and you have to make that decision. You know, you have to decide what is best for you. And again, what people got to understand in a post-event, if right now you're taking 15 meds a day, once those meds run out, what are you going to do then? So you better be doing your research for yourself, figuring out what other options do I have? What do I need to have? What do I don't need to have? And kind of go from there. You know, I went to the doctors a couple of years ago, and it was actually pretty funny. And they were like, you know, because it was a new doctor, and they were like, well, write down all your, you know, the meds that you're on. And I go, well, that's easy. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I'm not on anything. And they're like, you're in your 50s and you're not on any meds at all? And I'm like, no, I take nothing. And I still take nothing. I take, if I'm uncomfortable, I take Advil. That's it. And I take my vitamins. I take my vitamin D, vitamin C, and I take zinc every day. So then that's just to help to boost my immune system. And I haven't been sick in over a year. And I really started the vitamin regime when the whole COVID thing started, and like that, I said, I'm going to give myself that extra boost, you know, to help myself. And if you live in the North, and I said this in one of my streams recently, if you live in the North, and you most likely every winter, unless you're taking supplements, are vitamin D deficient, and vitamin D is a big part of your immune health. So you need to be having that vitamin D. So I highly, highly encourage people to get on vitamin D and to take it. Because one of the things, if you'll remember, that they recommended when this whole thing happened, what did they say? Don't go outside. Well, what's outside? The sun's outside. So think about that too. So,
and there's various forms of vitamin D, but the main one we're talking about is D3.
right.
Spaceballs. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Where you said something about tooth swelling. So I had a toothache the other day, and I rinsed with salt water, and then I put crushed garlic on there, and now it's gone. I'm not sure what you use, but I just wanted to throw that in there because the garlic worked great.
Garlic helps with a lot of things. People don't realize it, but garlic is a huge thing. Really, really does help with a lot of things.
Oh, and PrepperNurse. I'm sorry, PrepperNurse. I do apologize. I seen that, and I'm so far behind in chat. But thanks so much for the super chat, PrepperNerd. I truly appreciate that. I still haven't come across it in chat, so I'll get there eventually if you asked a question. Oh, Harvey Black, thanks for posting that as well. Anyone from Texas comes from the same assembly line. Honey has a very low glycemic index, kind of slow release. Thanks, Bee Charming, and I know you know your stuff about honey, being that you raise bees and all that jazz. Chat's jumping on me here. Don't forget to hit the like button. Of course, folks, we're doing pretty good on that. The sun kills viruses. D works best if not deficient in minerals and salts. A lot of people say when you take vitamin D to take vitamin K to help it absorb. I've heard that as well. D3 stockpile, shift engineering. Clove oil. Clove is good for toothaches. Yes, clove is just sometimes, I know some people have they don't like my wife hates clove, but it does work well. It reminds me when I used to go into a dentist's office, that's what I smelled was clove.
Oh, yeah. I can remember as a kid, and they were big in laughing gas back in the day. And they give you the laughing gas, and it was like every single, they must all, the dentist office have this like loop of the same music that they play. But there was the same song every time I came out of the, you know, anesthesia from the laughing gas, and it was the same song every single time. And I would hear that song, and it would just like, it was so bizarre, and it was like it happened over and over and over again. And it's like, so I like anytime I hear that song on the radio, I always think of the dentist office. It's just so funny.
It's weird how our brains pick up stuff like that, and it just it is. Deanna Walters says, I'm looking for potassium iodine. I know you're not going to want to hear this, but have you checked good old Amazon. Usually they seem to have everything. And people say, well, I don't like to shop at Amazon. We're boycotting them. And I understand what you guys folks are saying, but while you can get things now, you might as well utilize that and get whatever you can.
I'm going to tell you what, I would say the same thing. Take advantage of what is available right now. Even if it's like a big company like Amazon or Walmart or whatever, you can get really good deals. Do it while you can. You might want to boycott. Don't worry, when SHTF happens, they won't be there. So, get what you can get. Put yourself in a position to help yourselves. And that's the biggest thing with prepping, with being ready. Put yourself in a situation that you're going to be in a lot better position. Again, 95% of people are not prepared for a 2-week disaster. And that's a scary, scary concept if you think about it, because that's going to be a lot of people out there wandering around looking for somebody that does have stuff.
It's funny you say that. I live in Florida, man, and I've been living here most of my life. I've lived in Michigan as well. Thank God I don't live there anymore. But but I've lived in Florida most of my life, and every single time there's even a threat of a hurricane, plywood is gone, water is gone, and I'm thinking, you folks live this. Why is it always gone? You guys should be prepped. The gas is gone. Everything goes crazy. Generator.
It amazes me. It amazes me, especially if you live in an area that has the same disasters happening all the time. It's like it baffles my mind that people don't plan ahead, that they aren't, like I said, if I lived in Florida, I'd have plywood set aside strictly with the screws ready to go to board up the windows. You know what I mean? And it'd be in a shed or something. It would be ready to go. So all we had to do was pull it out and put it up, because it's not a matter of could we possibly, you are at some point going to deal with a hurricane.
Yeah, agreed. And Tiger 454, you are right. I utilize whoever to get what I need for my preps. Bingo.
Yeah, you have to.
And supposedly, I don't know if it's going to go down, but if we get hit this year, which I'm not wishing upon Florida or anybody or any folks to go through that, but Jason says he's going to come down and film it with me.
I'll stay right here. I have no desire to be in the midst of that.
Yeah, my wife's like, well, where's he going to sleep at? I said, well, we got a military cot, or we can use the studio. We'll figure it out.
That's funny.
Yeah, we're ready. JT says we're ready. 12 cases of water taking up space. I stockpile a lot of water. And, just being a prepper, when all this stuff has happened, with the toilet paper and all this other stuff, I've never had to go out and go through the craziness. I've always had it.
Nope. Well, talking about that is so funny that you mentioned it. I looked up in my preps that I have, and I'm like, oh, I'm down Kleenex. So I went to Wegmans, which is one of our major grocery stores that we have up here, and they sell the 10 packs of the Wegmans Kleenex brand. It's $10 for 10 boxes of Kleenex. So I picked up 2 10-packs of Kleenex, and then when I went to put it away, I went, oh, I had another one that I didn't realize that I already had up there. So I'm like, now I'm really good to go as far as Kleenex. I'm set, but I would rather have too much than not enough. And so that's kind of the way I've always done it.
JM, I'm not sure if he would fit on one of those cots or not. I mean, I have a couch, man. We'll figure it out if it comes to that.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He's pretty solid.
Yeah, agreed. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I forgot extra boots. Where I said
Tiger 454 said, I was in Katrina. Don't need another experience. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, like I said, with that situation, I will never forget that. And then when the government did go in, and a lot of people don't even realize this, the first thing that they did when they went in there, they disarmed people. That was the first thing they did. So, that's just absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. So craziness. And so that made me realize big time that I needed to do something. And so, like I said, that was absolutely my wake-up call, and I've been prepping ever since. And and like I said, it's for me, people this is one of the things that I always find interesting. I have people will say to me, well, do you hope SHTF ever happens? And I'll be 100% honest, there's probably a 1% part of my brain that says, I hope something happens, just because there's certain people, like my ex-wife would be one of them, that I would love to be able to say, ha, I told you so. But the reality is, anybody that preps, anybody that lives off grid, we don't want SHTF to happen. That's the reality. I hope I live a long life. I hope nothing ever happens. But is that reality? It's not. So to be prepared for whatever contingency happens, whatever is going to happen, or whatever event is gonna come down the road, you get as ready as you possibly can with, and then you deal with it. Like you said, with the whole thing with the toilet paper,
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing to me that, like, toilet paper, I was like, really? But just, that's what they were flipping out about, and they were just grabbing everything that they could possibly do. And, and I was sitting on, a ton of toilet paper because that's what I do. So
I think the media did a really good job of hyping that up. I saw them really push that.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then people were just, if they were getting as much as they could, to the point where the stores had to limit how, I think, like, when I went today, I was expecting them to say, limit of 1 per customer, but that wasn't on there. So I was actually able to get the 2 cases of Kleenex today. So, but it is amazing.
Yeah, no, sitting there seeing a couple of things in chat, people talking about alcohol to trade and boots and whatnot. If you guys have any last questions, man, we've been an hour and a half running. Usually, we run an hour and 15 minutes of what we're going. We've had a good conversation. So if you guys want to ask any last questions, we'll run it. Harvey says, what crops are you planting this year, Ed?
All right. Well, in one of my raised beds, we've already put in potatoes. So I got one of the raised beds is 3 different types of potatoes that we're planting this year. So I'm hoping that we get a really good crop with that. Potatoes are a great thing to plant. I will encourage anybody to do that, because you could survive off just eating potatoes, realistically. We also have one half of another bed. We put peas in already. We put radishes, and we put in carrots in that bed. Another bed, we've already put in our asparagus, which is more of a long-term situation. So we're not going to be harvesting any of the asparagus this year. We'll just let it go back to seed and then just let it spread in that bed. We planted strawberries in that bed as well already. In the greenhouse, I have cantaloupe, watermelon, yellow squash going, zucchini, tomatoes, peppers, and we got a lot of those type of things going on, which we're going to be transplanting outside into the beds shortly. Some of the stuff I will be keeping inside the greenhouse as well. We've also planted sunflowers this year, and this is my first year doing that, and we actually grew them from seed as well. And I think that's important, because if you think of all the sunflower seeds that you can get off of one head of a sunflower, that's a lot of natural oils that you can have for your body. And it's a good protein source as well. So I think that's a really good thing that people should be having, that they're growing as well, because they're easy to grow. They're really easy to grow. And so those are some of the things right there. I'm sure we're going to be throwing some other things in there as well. I know we're going to be doing green beans and yellow beans, and we're going to be doing a lot of tomatoes hopefully this year, because I really want to do a lot of canning. Something in my head is saying, we really need to rock and roll, because I'm going to give you an example. And this is actually my second video I did cut off because my battery died on the camera. So I had to switch them out. And I was like, well, that's all they get. But I was talking about, I went to the store today, and I came out of the store with 1 bag of groceries plus the 2 things of the of Kleenex. Okay. $120.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was getting cold cuts, which meat is way more expensive. It is absolute insanity, the prices of the groceries, the way the groceries are going. So, again, if you can grow as much as you can possibly grow, guys, do it. I think we're in for some very, very hard times moving forward. And it's not going to get any better. I don't see it getting better. And they've already even talked about they're going to be raising the food prices even more. They've come out and said it. Different companies have already said it. So, again, if you stock up now, it's never going to be cheaper than it is right now. And that's one of the things I would always encourage people as well to do. look at that, look at it in that aspect. So maybe, you know, well, we got so much money set aside, but should we go ahead and stock up? I would absolutely encourage you to do so, because when the time comes and something major happens, this is something that I've said many, many times too. You're going to have what you have. Maxie, he's shaking the camera. Yeah, you're going to have what you have, and that's it. And so, you know, plan accordingly. That's absolutely plan accordingly and prioritize.
Cheryl Zeman, the shelf life of, let's say, fish mocks or just antibiotics themselves. If you notice, the CD changed their mindset on that as just as recently. But that video that I did, I do discuss that the shelf life in regards to different antibiotics and whatnot. So it can kind of vary a little bit, and also where you store them at. But I do have a video on that, Cheryl. I saw something else here. Where was it? What would you use for? Dina Walter says, "What would you use for a baby cutting teeth?" I know what I want to say, but you probably know where I'm going with that, Ed.
I know exactly where you're going, and it works. Believe it or not, it works very well.
Agreed. Does anyone know? Does anyone know how long a half a bottle of vodka will last in the back of my closet?
Oh, somebody just said in here, I have marigolds going too. Yes, marigolds are an important part of your garden. It will deter bugs that will eat your stuff in your garden. Always, I've done it. My grandparents did it. They taught me that. Always plant marigolds in your gardens. Make sure you have them in there as well. Really important. And I did grow marigolds from seeds this year as well. So that was pretty cool too.
Bruce is asking me, hey, Grey, you talk about your shop and what is your actual profession? So I'm a business owner, I guess you could say. I run my own photography business. I have the shop, which I'll explain here in a second. And then I consider YouTube an extension of that, because technically YouTube is like another job in a certain aspect, but an enjoyable job. So don't get me wrong. Now the shop that I run, or, you know, that I'm part of, is what they call e-cigarettes. Some of you guys know e-cigarettes, and I don't want to get into the whole, you know, conversation about e-cigarettes right now. But we've slowly started pushing some of that around a little bit, and we're also selling preparedness gear. I know it's going to sound crazy, but it's actually doing really, really well. We sell a lot of different, you know, let's say Essie knives and Beckers and K-bars and Kershaws and Spydercos, and then also, you know, some preparedness stuff, ferro rods and little medic bags, and I got some stuff laying here, silky saws, you name it. We got a bunch of that stuff in there. We're trying to get everybody in the mindset of preparedness. So I'm starting to use the extension of my business to spread that message as well. Sunflowers are great. Just bought a still going to be making some vodka.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
You know, when I walked out of, I think was it Walmart that I walked out of, because we were doing something there, and they had the jars of canning jars in there, and someone asked me when I walked out, "You doing some moonshine?" I'm like, maybe. You never know. But we bought these jars because we want to get into I think it's called cold. We have a lot of tomato plants as well, and we're going to do some cold water canning for the tomatoes.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. If you think about it too, like pasta, indefinite shelf life with pasta. So if you have jars of tomatoes that you've canned, jars of tomatoes, you cook up your pasta, you throw some tomatoes in there, you throw some hamburger or whatever, any kind of meat in there, you got a pretty good filling meal. So it's a really good thing. Like I said, canning stuff is make a big difference on how things taste.
Agreed. And I'm learning a lot about that. That could be literally a whole nother conversation. Alaska Prepper said, have to get going. Glad I made it for a bit. Well, thank you, Rudy, for being here. Thank you for coming on, Ed. Great live stream. Have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again,
Rudy. Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
Where are we at here? We're not going to go too much longer. I'm trying to make sure that we are all caught up. Hey, what's up, Northern Girl? Thank you, Survival Julie.
So I want to address that because somebody just said on here, they were talking about that their store had plenty of jars but no lids. There was no lids to be had last year. I could get no lids. Plenty. I shouldn't say plenty. Hit and miss on the canning jars themselves, and so I always try to get as many as I possibly can. So I try to get as many canning jars as I can, but there's been no lids whatsoever last year, and I haven't seen any lids for sale this year either, as far as like Walmart and stuff like that goes. Thankfully, yeah, there you go.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's
Yep.
the Ridge Homestead said, "What is cold water canning?" And I might have said it wrong, but it says, "Yeah, water bath canning." Maybe that works better. You know, I'm new to this, so I jumble things up. It's water bath canning. There we go.
But luckily, because being a prepper, wow, imagine that, I have a ton of lids that I had bought from before that literally are just set aside, put away. I continue to add more jars because I know how much canning I plan on doing. So if they're available, when I was at Walmart today, I was looking for canning jars. They had nothing today, but it's a weekend, so that's kind of more. No, it's not. Today's a Monday, Tuesday. Man, I'm like, I lose track of time. Sorry, but so they had nothing today at the Walmart as far as canning jars go. But if they got them, I grab them. It's just again, when the time comes, you're going to need them. So it's a good thing to have.
Spaceballs. If time is running out, what you should prioritize? What should you prioritize and learn first? And I'm going to go with food and water. And
yeah, water is going to always be number one. Always. Several ways how to purify water. Make sure you have different things that are going to help you to purify water. Also know what you need to do to purify water, like using crushed up charcoal, sand, and small rocks. Layer. You could use a garbage can, whatever, poke holes in the bottom of that, and then run the water through the top. Whatever water you're going to use first, I would run it through a cloth of some sort to get the bigger particles out. And then you just pour that in there, and as it comes through, it's going to help purify it. Then what you're going to want to do is rolling boil with that water, for at least 5 minutes, and that should take care of everything at that point, and that should be drinkable. But I'm telling you right now, the biggest killer in a post-event is not going to be people dying of lead poisoning, which means being shot. Just so you know, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, they're going to die from dysentery. That's what the biggest killer is going to be in a post-event.
And not a problem, Ridge Homestead. Like I said, if you watch any of my content, I mix up my words a lot, but that just shows I'm only human. But I truly appreciate that, and I want to try pressure canning. A lot of people told me to try the Presto, to start with, but we'll see where it goes. I want to try this first and go with that, and then move on to the next step. And everything's traceable to the center. I saw jars at Myers today. Dina Walters, you must be in Michigan if you're talking about Myers. And Shift Engineering asks, is there a good order to rotate your crops that you know of?
You don't want to plant the same things in the same beds every year. So like last year where we had our tomato plants, this year we planted our oh my God, I'm going blank here. Our potatoes. So we put those in that bed. So we'll use one of the other beds that we did not have peppers in or tomatoes in. We'll put that in another bed. And so you always want to make sure you're rotating that. Always try to every year re-enrich your soil as much as you can, either with compost or something to that effect as well. Biggest thing that people make a hugest mistake of every single year. What do? You rake up all your leaves, you put them in bags, you put them on the curves, and the town takes them away. That is one of the best things that you could have for your garden, because that will break down. The worms will come in there. It's fantastic for your garden. Absolutely fantastic for your gardens. Don't throw your leaves away. Put them in your garden beds. Put them in there in the fall. Cover them over. That'll break down through the winter. Really, really good for your gardens.
Someone's saying, people are saying everybody has lids, everybody's kind of going crazy on the lids. There's someone says Ace Hardware, someone says the Dollar General, a lot of stuff. If
you're not buying ball lids, the only kind of lids I'll buy is for canning lids are going to be ball. Or if you're going to buy like the Tadler, which is the reusable lids, that's another good thing to have because you can, get the rubber gasket and get those type of things. That's another good option because those are reusable and you can use them as many times as you want to. Absolutely, you get those if you can get those as well. But if you're going to get a canning lid, there's a lot of off brands that you can buy. Some of them are going to seal, some of them are not. Ball happens to be, and I have, like I said, I have no affiliation with Ball canning jars or lids, but they're the best. That's a fact. So.
All right, folks. I know you guys are having a great time because I see you guys keep on going. But you know, Ed probably has things he has to do, and you know, we're an hour and 45 minutes in. But I don't know. What do you want to do, Ed?
It's up to you, man. If you want to, let's go to 11. We'll go to 11 if you're good with that, and
Yeah,
then we'll call it a night then.
Roger that. We'll go another 15 minutes, folks. So that being said, if you guys have questions, throw them out there. I had a question a while back, but that was like 45 minutes ago, and I don't even remember what the hell it was anymore. Not that I really want to bring this up, but I was wondering because I always like to ask folks in the state of New York, and I think we had this conversation on the phone when I first talked to you a while back, how the state regulations, you know, affect you folks out there more in the rural areas versus like the way the city is, because I know the city is just falling apart.
Well, you know, with the cities, they're so restrictive, and like if you go to New York City, even okay, so if I go to New York City, let's say I decide I'm going to go down and I'm going to see the Yankees play in New York City, and I have my gun permit, I can't take a gun on the island, even though I'm legally allowed to have my pistol permit and I'm allowed to have my pistol anywhere else. If I go on the island, I can't have it. So they're really, really restrictive like that. And of course, people are getting killed left, right, and center by guns down in New York City because criminals don't follow gun laws, as we all know. But the problem is, you know, there's a lot of restrictive laws. The taxes in New York are absolutely ridiculous. That's probably the biggest thing driving people out of New York State is the taxes. And they're not going to get any better. They're going to just get worse. And so, you know, that's for me personally, it's part of why I want to move too. Weather is a huge factor of why I would want to move. I still want to be in the mountains, so I still want to change the seasons, but I just really would not rather have 5 months of winter. You know, I mean, it's as fun as it is, you know, but I would rather be in a spot where, and like I said, I like to ride. Anybody that watches the channel knows I ride a Harley. I want to ride, and I don't want to ride for 3 or 4 months out of the year. I'd like to ride longer, you know, so being further south is going to, you know, facilitate that as well. So that's, you know, part of it as well. But I want to be someplace where, you know, when you get, like if we do make the move and go down to West Virginia and I buy a piece of property in West Virginia, I pretty much can do whatever I want where it went down there. So if I decide I'm going to dig a hole and put in an outhouse, it's not a big deal. Nobody's going to come in there and say, well, you know, this regulation says that you can't do that and you have to have this or you have to have that. You know, that's not going to be there. So that's a good thing, you know, in my opinion.
All right. Before I do, because I know, where was it? Someone said, we'll do what Paul's going to ask. I know you guys do it on your channel a lot. Well, we can go ahead and do that. But Dirt Reynolds says precious metals. Good idea. Depending if you have all your preps, this is what I tell folks, because I'm a precious metal guy. Just the way I do things. I don't know sure if Ed is or not.
Silver only, not gold.
Yeah, I do a lot of silver, and there's reasons why I do it. But we can go into a long depth conversation. But if you have food, water, you know, things like shelter, fire, you know, you have all that other stuff, gun, and you have the extra money to invest into silver, then that might be an option. Now, physical silver, don't be investing in fake silver. You want to invest into physical silver. But
what I encourage people to do, I tell them you should have some junk silver, dimes, quarters, half dollars, silver dollars. Okay. Hugely important. It should be part of your preps as well, because that will retain value in a post event, still be very, very tradable. And so you will still have that in a post event. Again, like you said, very good point. If you've got your other stuff squared away and you feel comfortable with what you have as far as food, water, medical supplies, other preps that are going to help you out, and then you want to jump in and get some, you don't need to have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of silver. You know, you can go, I know, like at a flea market, if you go to a flea market, I know now. It may be different. I was at a flea market last year. I picked up quarters for like $2.50 a piece. It might be a little bit more now. I know silver's gone up, but you know, the dimes even. It's very, very. It's not really that expensive. You know, you could go out and spend $25-$30 and get that, you know, junk silver, and you have something as opposed to nothing. I think that that's a good investment to have, and as you can add more to it, add more to it. You know, I try to add to it when I can. If I go to a flea market, it's one of the first things I'm looking for is junk silver. So that's just gold. Absolutely not too hard to get rid of. You know, and the spot on it, you know, they're getting you for $50 going in and then another 50 going out, no matter if it goes up or down. So that I don't like. So, but gold or silver, I definitely think people should have the silver.
Tiger 454, thank you for the super chat. And it says, Ed, we don't live on our homestead yet and don't have running water. How can I make sure my fruit trees get plenty of water when I plant them?
What you can do is you can go ahead. I mean, those big totes that you can get, they're like 250-gallon totes. You know, get them ahead of time and get them filled up to make sure that you have plenty of water. If you have any buildings on your property, set up a rain catchment system, and they'll take care of itself that way. That's a great way of doing it. And you know, if you have a gray water system that you're using for your homestead, like if you're there, whenever you're there and you're taking showers or washing dishes, and depending on what kind of soap you're using and stuff, have that leach field out where your apple trees or your fruit trees are. And that's going to be another way that's going to be a real good way to water them with just wastewater. So that's just, that's a couple of things, a couple of options.
And Gardner Josh, can you run a dialysis machine on solar? I don't know what I would have to see the amount of power it draws, the amperage and whatnot. But I'm assuming if you can run it on power, you can possibly run it on there. I just wouldn't know the length and how long and the type of solar that you have. It's kind of more of a longer question. But
well, the thing is, if you're on dialysis, you're looking at, you know, 4 to 6 hours for a treatment, 2 to 3 days a week. So, you know, you're going to definitely need a system with plenty of batteries that's going to be able to hold that juice. You absolutely could run those machines on an off-grid system, but it's going to come down to what is your battery capacity, what you're bringing in, what part of the country you're in to do that. Yeah, but it's absolutely something that would definitely be a doable thing.
What's up, Dangerous Freedom? I saw you pop in here. Hey, Liz. Thanks so much for stopping by. Mark, have a good night. Where is it? Even if I had the power, sterile supplies wouldn't last long. But yeah, that's something you guys got to look into. And just like Ed said, it depends on your batteries and whatnot. There's a lot more to it.
That's a Gardner Josh said, even if I had the power, the sterile supplies wouldn't last long. You're right. They wouldn't. You know, there's only so much you can prep for, you know, as far as that type of thing goes. So,
yeah,
and then Angela just said that's how the Israelis water crops, gray water. Yep, there you go. Everything can be utilized. It's amazing what can work for what.
Agreed. Trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, and Paul wanted to know if we can do where everybody's from. So if you guys have been on Ed's channel before, he always says, so, hey, everybody put down where you're from. And now he doesn't mean specifically, but, you know, like what state. So Paul, if you guys want to help Paul out, it's something to do over on Ed's channel. If everybody wants to put, you know, what state they're from in, go ahead and hit it. You know what I mean? If you guys want to just say, like, I'll start it off. I'm from Florida.
And I'm from New York.
There you go. So now you guys can go. We got someone from Wisconsin, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Kansas, West Virginia, Washington, Utah, PA, Pennsylvania, Northwestern Ontario, Utah, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, Florida, Maricopa County, Arizona, Nebraska, Indiana, Minnesota, New York, Oregon, Canada, Alberta, Canada, Western Maryland here, Arkansas, British Columbia, China, I don't know how to say that. Central Florida, Tina West, you're very close to me. North Carolina and Georgia, Oklahoma, Oregon, Washington State, Southern California, California, South Carolina, Canada, Idaho, New York, and I think I came to Missouri. I don't know how you do this, Ed, when you have that many people in chat.
It's just I try to get it on mine. Now this is going pretty slow here, which you're lucky. Mine is just dinging. It's like bing, 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 and it's like I try to if I read one and I've already read that state, I'll try to skip it and look for something that I haven't seen yet. Yeah, it goes fast. It's amazing how fast it'll go, especially when you have, depending on the size of the crowd that you got in there. But it's a fun part of it too, because a lot of people don't realize, we're such a big brotherhood and sisterhood. We're such a big family, and nobody's alone. And that's the cool part of it, is if you have like-minded people that you can reach out to and talk to and share information and share ideas. I just think that is, you got the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, very nice. The UP. But there's such a tremendous amount of information and people and sharing, and it's awesome, and I love that part of it.
I want to answer a question for Andrea. That's why I kind of paused on some of the stuff. And I see Texas and Colorado, Oklahoma. Thanks so much. Thanks to everyone for participating in that. Andrea says, GreyMan, how did you get rid of your diabetes? And I know this is going to sound, it was really simple, to be honest with you, Andrea. I restructured what I consumed and changed my entire diet and started to become more active. The food had a lot to do with it, and being not active. So I got out more in the outdoors. I changed the way I ate. I cut down a lot of all the sugars, the sodas, all the garbage that they feed you. Stop eating fast foods. I call it cleaner eating. I'm poultry, poultry, fish, things that are more leaner proteins and whatnot. So I just cut out basically the huge killer, or I call it the biggest drug in America, sugar.
Yeah, it's a huge one. It is huge.
And it changed my life. I dropped 152 pounds.
Wow. That's awesome, man. I'm glad that's good to hear.
I'm still working on it. I got another 50 or so to go, but that's where I'm at.
I hear you. I know I got a ways to go where I want to be at, but it just, if you work at it, anything else, you work at it methodically, you set your mindset, like I said, changing eating habits is huge. Portion size is huge. Moderate exercise is also a big part of it. Big part of it.
If you guys watch me on Wednesdays when I'm out there, even if I'm doing a nature walk or doing whatever, I'm out there. I got my pack on. I got all my gear on. It's just because I'm practicing with my gear, but also getting that exercise. And Sarah, you're absolutely right. We are family. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be your food. Agreed. That's a famous quote. You are what you eat, right, Harvey Black? Agreed. Grow a garden, a basket prepper. Yep, I'm in the process of doing that right now. Someone said snake diet. I'm not familiar with a snake diet. You?
I've never heard of that. No.
JM, so proud of you. So many need the encouragement. And that's what I tell folks. I've told the story a couple of times on my channel, and some folks have found it encouraging, because I tell people if I did it, being at 400 and some pounds at the time, you can do it. It's just you got to put your mind to it. I know it's hard, but you got to put down the Oreos. What I used to consume is horrible. If I tell you what I consumed, you guys would be shocked. And Mediterranean, you're right, CB SARS. Mediterranean is actually a good thing, but I follow a lot of Asian cuisine, like the Japanese and stuff. If you notice, they live extremely long.
They eat a lot of vegetables and they eat a lot of rice.
Mm-hmm. It's I can go deep into that. I should make a video about that, the Japanese thing, because they're the biggest, largest population of centurions. Woo! There we go. Ruth Johnson.
Well, you know what? And the difference is too, I think, with the Japanese culture, is they take care of their old people. They have respect for their old people, and they're held in reverence. Where, unfortunately, the worst group of people in the United States with their old people are white people. We treat our old people like garbage. We throw them away. I was raised totally different. As you guys know, my mom lives here with me at the homestead, and she'll be here with me until she goes, and that's the game plan there. But, I was raised, we take care of our own. And so, that's, and it's not always easy. It's a huge sacrifice. And I know a lot of people that have done it, and it takes a toll. It really does. But, I think it's important that we respect our old people, and that we try to take care of them.
Yeah, I've seen some folks, people that actually were deployed over there, told me so they've seen some crazy stuff. They'll see a businessman full suit, put all this stuff down, and help the old person come across the street. S.J. Mullen says, "You are a great son, Ed."
Well, thank you. And I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm not doing it for any accolades. It's just that's in my DNA. That's what we've always done. And that's how I was raised. And I think we need to get back to that family unit. That family unit is missing. It's a terrible thing, in my opinion. And it really just, we just need to get back to that aspect of things, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, I'm sitting there reading. Well, folks, we've hit our 2-hour mark. How did you get rid of the diabetes? Andrea, I answered that question. Andrea Schultz, if this helps, you can give me an email. My email is in every single one of my videos down below, and you can email me, and I can get more detailed for you. But we're going to kind of wrap it up here. We are at our 2-hour mark, and people should be more considerate and respectful. Yeah, I agree. And thanks for, I just want to say, Ed, thank you for joining me on my channel, brother. I truly appreciate you being here.
No problem, man. My pleasure to be here. Like I said, I think that we're a big family. We all should be supporting each other, and I think that that's important.
Yeah, agreed. And I want to say thank you to everybody in chat today. We had a lot of new folks in here, a lot of good people in here. Thanks so much, guys, for being here. Mods, thank you for doing what you're doing. I know you guys had a couple issues you guys had to deal with. Thank you so much for that. And also for me, you guys will see me tomorrow. And then next time I go live is 10:30 Eastern Standard Time every Thursday night, late night with Grey. And we'll be doing the Super Chat of the Month giveaway live that night. And of course, we'll dive into a bunch of things. It's not topic specific. You guys know we just like to hang out and have a good time. Liz, thank you so much for that Super Chat. Truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And other than that, guys, I think that's it. You guys have a great night. This is Grey and Ed, and we're out. And hold on. Yep. Monty, I see that. Thanks for that last Super Chat. We're getting it in right there at the end. But we got to go, guys. So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. God bless.